Thanksgiving address was left by a legendary figure called the Peacemaker, who appeared one day on Onondaga Lake in a white stone boat, which needed no canoe to power it forward. And he traveled among the people teaching the path of peace, because they lived in a time of war and tyranny and bloodshed and violence and feuds and all kinds of terrible fear and violence towards each other. And one by one, this man convinced everyone that peace was to everyone's advantage, and he gathered them together on the shore of Onondaga Lake, and they went through a ceremony involving planting a white pine tree, which is now the symbol of the Iroquois Confederacy, or the Haudenosaunee, of which the Mohawks are the eastern gatekeepers. And he explained that whenever they gather for deliberation or ceremony, they should do this address. And so this is an instruction from a divine messenger. And it's a very profound story to know the whole thing. Myself, I first heard this message given in November of 1972 when I was inside the Bureau of Indian Affairs building with 2,000 members of the American Indian Movement waiting for the federal government to come and evict us. And they had a town meeting every night, and they discussed their situation, and they took a vote about what they were going to do. And one night, a Seneca man, they're the Western gatekeepers, gave this address in a slightly different form. And it was a very lengthy thing. This whole recitation actually takes about half an hour, because you give thanks for every portion of creation. You start with the least of all things and work your way up till you give thanks to the sun and the moon and the four directions and the Creator himself. And so the way this was done was very powerful, because he said, let us bring our hearts together and our minds together and see what good we can bring to our world. And let us remember the winged creatures that are in the sky and who entertain us with their beautiful feathers and also give us joy from their songs. And he took them to a very lengthy recitation, recognizing all of the members of the creation of the family on this planet, and then ended it with talking about, let us see what we can do to bring good to our world. And I watched about 2,000 people from all over the United States that were gathered in a state of siege in the heart of their enemy's capital. I felt the energy of that room come together, and by the time he was through reciting this address, they were ready to deal with what they were facing. It was very powerful.
Thank you.
So this is my first experience with what Karen has just introduced you to. It's a deep root of Native American culture, which very few people understand, but it's a spiritual tradition that has been shared all over this continent.
Thank you,
So
David.
not many of
David,
us know about it.
This is an oral tradition. It doesn't matter who wrote it down, because it's all
Just by the way, at the end of the story, the peacemaker says, my work is now finished and I will now vanish. If the great peace is ever threatened, you can call on my name and I will return. So they always leave an empty seat at their council in case he shows up again.
So the word biochar is up here quite a bit.